qualifying for the first of the showdown rounds here at the TT Circuit Assen has gone the way of Scott Redding. Scott, who has a lot of MotoGP experience around here, well, he's put that to good use by setting the fastest ever Superbike lap in the British Superbike Championship during that qualifying session. He will start on pole position. Congratulations, Scott. You've obviously got something right around here.
Yeah, just riding a bike that works well obviously helps the rider a lot. And I feel better here with this bike than I did in the past with the MotoGP bike. So this is the good thing, that I know that I'm riding well and I'm getting more confident with the bike and, you know, improving on tracks that I know. You know, that's the main thing. This weekend we could work a lot on bike setup because I know the circuit, which is something obviously I don't have a lot of experience in this year. So just using that to our advantage and feeling comfortable with a new tyre, a used tyre, and I hope tomorrow to be able to take some wins and try to manage the tyre as best as possible.
Well, I think the dynamics of the PBM team coming to Assen are fascinating because you've got two very different characters in Scott Redding and Josh Brookes, identical machinery of course, and virtually nothing between them in the points. Assen and Donington, two tracks where Scott has lots of experience, places that were going to suit his style, and you would have to say that he comes to these as the favourite. The big question I think now is how Josh reacts to that. It's going to be interesting. He knows that Scott has the kind of upper hand performance-wise, I think, at these two circuits, but he's got to stay in touch and he's got to be there when we get to Brands Hatch. And we all know we get to Brands, Josh has won there plenty of times. We always get a mixture with the weather, and he's got to make sure he gives himself a fighting chance when we get there. I think that's the target for Josh over the next two rounds, but psychologically, a real challenge for him.
How do you think you're going to get on today, Josh?
It's the $1 million question. I think if we knew the answer to that, we'd be putting a few bets down, wouldn't we? But yeah, I'll try my best, do what I can.
Obviously I know I've got good pace, and coming to a track that I know that helps me a lot to understand the bike and be able to push and change setup. It's the first time this year I've actually rode a track for the first time that I've done in the last 12 months. So I feel good. I didn't know that we actually did it the first day, and then I knew I had more to come. So it's good. We know we got pace, we got consistency, so we just need to work a bit more and get the races done.
Expected to be quick here. Yeah. It's like a track that he's very familiar with and had great results with. So yeah, and this morning was exceptional as well in morning warm-up on a used front tyre. So his times were phenomenal this morning. So hopefully we'll get a nice clean run. Hopefully the bikes will run well and leave him to do his job. We have had a difficult weekend with Josh. There's just something maybe not quite been right, and maybe the crash at Alton had dent his confidence a little, but they've dug in that side of the garage and they've grafted this weekend, so I think we're in the mix now.
Got Redding in pole position alongside Tommy Bridewell and Luke Stapleford. Title fighters scattered down through the grid. Oh, a clean start for Redding on the outside of the front row. Moves across to try and fend off Bridewell. Bridewell tries to cane it down the inside, and the pint-sized Luke Mossey comes through, and there's Brookes swapping to the inside and trying to squeeze through.
It's a perfect start for Scott Redding though, because if he can I feel if he can have a lap and a half, 2 laps on his own with a bit of clear air, I think he's going to take some staying with.
So Bridewell through to second, Stapleford in third ahead of Josh Brookes. Brookes, can he hang on the inside of Stapleford? And he does out-muscle Stapleford. Linfoot says thank you very much, he goes through as well. Ahead now of O'Halloran, Hickman, Glenelg and Forrest. Mackenzie pushed back to 10th, just opened up that little bit of a gap now over third place Brookes. So Brookes with work to do here, he can see that length of track ahead of him.
Redding he's not breaking sweat here. I think he's doing exactly what he thinks he needs to do in terms of going as slow as he has to do, as slow as he can doing this. I don't think he sees any problems here. I think he's trying to conserve a tyre because he's been doing quicker laps than this the whole weekend. Watch the front end, just watch the front now. There, you see that and you know, Jack, that you are never ever going to save that. It doesn't matter how they say dig your knee in, lift the bike up. I carried it on my knee and then saved it. No chance.
Scott Redding now just looking supreme. And this, again, the scrap for second place closing up. It's a race win for number 45, Scott Redding.
Brookes has got it, I think.
Brookes does hold on to it brilliantly for a Be Wiser 1-2. The championship remains very tight, James.
The weekend's been difficult for me. For some reason, the typical setup we've used regularly in the last few rounds hasn't worked here. Obviously, the track is quite different, but it took us by surprise.
I saw Tommy was coming with me, but I saw the gap on the board also going up and down, so I know he was pushing a lot, making some mistakes and maybe hoping for me to get weaker later on, but normally that's not my case, especially when I'm feeling good on the bike. And then I saw he went down, so it was just to manage the gap really to the other guys, not do nothing stupid. It's sometimes harder when that happens because you know you can't make a mistake. It's almost gifted to you with the over 3-second lead. If you make a mistake, you don't want to come back to the pit box. So I just did my rhythm, got my head down, and almost just pretended that Tommy was still behind me and just kept putting them laps away to get me ready also for race 2.
So then we're just in race 1 here at Assen. Scott Redding took a dominant victory over Josh Brookes, who got caught up in a battle with Luke Stapleford. Rode the best race of his BSB career so far, I would say. But going to be really difficult for Josh at this race. Scott looks sublime, you know, riding way above and beyond the rest of the field. And if Josh is going to take it to him for the championship, he needs to get his finger out and he needs to get it out soon.
Over the course of the last few races, it's been pretty much a PBM Ducati pendulum swinging from one to the other. Coming off the back of Alton Park, you'd say that probably some momentum was probably restored to Josh Brookes, but Josh crashed in the third of the 3 races, although dominant and strong throughout the weekend, but has come to Assen this weekend and seen his great rival and teammate Scott Redding top pretty much every single session. So the pendulum will perhaps swing towards Scott Redding this weekend, but as we've seen before, sometimes the only person that can beat Scott Redding is Scott Redding.
There's a long way to go yet. We've had a good run so far, and just got to keep it clean and hopefully we'll get a good run to the next meetings.
Scott Redding, the new championship leader, he's second on the grid. He said it was about time he got a decent start, and he did. Behind him, 4th on the grid, his teammate and championship challenger Josh Brookes. 26 riders on the grid, the lights go out, and good start by Tommy Bridewell. Can he drag it across in time to hold that lead into the... No, he can't. It's Stapleford who rockets through. Stapleford ahead of Bridewell. Bridewell's going to lose out surely to Redding, who has the inside light on him through turn 1, and Redding comes through into 2nd place. Watch this, and that is the move you'd expect straight away, and a replica move from Josh Brookes. Runs a bit wide though. Here comes Scott Redding, lining up momentarily, a move there on Tommy Bridewell.
I tell you who's got a lot more confidence, especially the front of his back this race, is Josh Brookes.
The beautiful style of Scott Redding, who hopes to leave this championship with the championship in his pocket at the end of this season, and he cuts underneath with that sweet move on Josh Brookes. The 2 Be Wiser Ducatis, of course, evenly matched. So as ever, it's going to be the last run down into the chicane. Danny can't make it stick though. Someone's got to find a way through. Redding wins it. He does the double here at Assen. And as they howl across the line, it's Brookes who gets thrust back to 4th place. Disappointment for the Australian. Number 45 then, the tall figure of Scott Redding. Congratulations to those around him. What a great ride.
It's not about winning by miles, it's about doing a clever race, and I'm still learning so much about these bikes and these tyres, so I need to do it step at a time, race by race. And race 2 then, when Luke came past, like, he was holding me up, but he was also unpassable because he was squeezing on the gas so hard, so I kind of had to sit there and wait a little bit, hope not to get beat up too much from guys behind, and then when I felt it was my time to go, I picked the guys off, got my head down and just kept like getting that little bit more, felt more comfortable at the front, and happy to come away with 2 victories here in Assen.